Mike, or are you going to project?
He did, I think, acknowledge that he received a message.
Hey, afternoon everyone. How you all doing?
Thank you.
Good. Got a bit more energy than that. Come on, how are we all doing?
Good.
Fantastic. I'm Fred. I'm co-founder and MD of the B1M. We're going to tell you a bit more about who we are and what we do as we go through the presentation. Suffice to say, we are a media company. We are unapologetically a commercial company. We're out to make money. But I guess, like many people in my generation, I'm not somebody who can just get out of bed in the morning and go to make money. I like to have kind of a purpose and a social value behind what I do. So our mantra at the B1M is that we love construction and we want the whole world to love it too. And as you've probably seen from the kind of the trailer of the presentation, our goal is to fundamentally change the perception of construction on planet Earth. What we do is exclusively through video. Video is the medium that we use. I'm going to play you a quick trailer now that basically says everything I've just said, but in a much more eloquent and impressive way than I could ever do in person.
Look at these constructions, touching and moulding our lives. To work here is to shape, to influence, to impact. To work here is to make a difference. To work here is to embrace the cutting edge every day. To work here is to innovate, to imagine, to dream, to solve, to make it happen. This is a sector that doesn't shout about itself, that isn't good at celebrating what it does, that many of the talented and best young people don't even notice. This is what happens when you share knowledge, expertise, and best practice with a mass audience in the world's most important industry. This is what happens when you show construction at its best to millions. This is what happens when you stop telling and start compelling. This is what happens when you stop boring and start engaging. This is what happens when you show people how great construction really is and what it can be. This is the B1M.
So I said that's a far more compelling and dramatic version of what we do. But that is us, that's our mission. For all the other stuff I'm about to say, that is our core, that's what we believe in, and that is what we are about. The big thing I think that we often forget is that the amazing people in this room shape the world we live in. You guys work in an incredible industry that literally shapes the lives of every child, every adult, every elderly person in every corner of this planet. The problem we have is that most people out there on those streets don't understand what we do. They don't see our industry the way we see our industry. They don't see the incredible people, the latest technology, the decisions being made that shape not just our homes, but our cities, the impact that we are having on climate change, and the power that we possess to help turn that tide. That is why we do what we do at the B1M. Show the whole world how amazing this industry is, to fundamentally change the perception of construction on planet Earth. To take the industry's best stories out from trade shows and trade magazines that people have to opt into, and instead place them on the platforms that billions of people check every day. So that's us. My mission in life is a simple one. I love construction, and I want the whole world to love it too. What we're doing at the moment is very kind of internal communication within the industry. We're very good at talking to each other through industry press, industry events, industry forums, industry networking. and the kind of mainstream media cover us occasionally, either when a kind of a walking robot gets announced, or when we really stuff up, like with HS2 and Crossrail and Grenfell and Carillion, and you can add to that list, sadly. And we're kind of asking ourselves the question, well, how do we change the industry? How do we draw the best talent in? How do we move forward? Contrast to that scenario is the big, media-rich, 24-hour news cycle, social media-driven world that we have outside these windows, where people are pulled at, clawed for, emailed, pushed, notified, telephoned, advertised to, pushed at all the time. And there's these amazing kind of sexy, interesting jobs and roles and careers and industries out there. There's all this wonderful stuff you could do with your life. And we are not competing in the kind of the Times Square scenario at the moment. We're not. We're kind of communicating in a bit of a bad way. We have websites that outline all the different job roles that are available in construction. And they're good websites if people go to them. We're asking the young people of today, the best talent of today, to go out of their way to a website to learn about our industry and make a decision whether or not they're going to join our industry or not. So it's not just about bringing people into the industry, it's not just about attracting talent, it is about changing the perception on this planet. Because if we do that, not only do we attract the best talent, but people really value what we do. They recognise our industry. They don't see it as a kind of a dead end where you go if you're not successful. They see it as where you should go, because that's a career where you can actually shape the world that we live in. Give a bit of context about the world we are living in and how information is now shared, and a bit of background behind what we do. It's probably obvious the way people now consume information has changed. So the days when we used to get the newspaper on our doormat at 8:30 in the morning and we read the news that way with a certain bias one way or the other are kind of over. There are still newspapers, but really media shifted into digital and online. Within that digital online world, in the last 10 years, there's been a profound shift towards online streamed video. To give you some stats, these are independent stats, not mine. To watch everything uploaded to YouTube just today would take you 65 years of continuous viewing with no breaks, no sleep, no food, no life, basically. Another 65 years of being uploaded tomorrow, another 65 years on Friday, and again on Saturday, and again on Sunday. So you kind of get the idea about how big this is. Facebook getting 8 billion video views every day. There are only 7 billion people on Earth, from newborn babies right across to those without internet access. More people are now watching YouTube during prime time in the US than the 10 prime time shows all put together. I think that really underlines how viewer habits have changed. And I just want to kind of dip out of these stats for a moment, because I get quite a lot when I go into meetings. I think people are trying to be endearing when they say it. I get, oh, my kids use YouTube. And it's like, great, that's fantastic. I don't know what he's doing up there. He's gaming all day, whatever. It's oh yeah. And they don't really realise that actually this is the world's second most visited website after Google itself. If people want to find out things today and find information, they're going to type it into Google, and with YouTube being part of Google, it serves video results into the homepage of Google. That's how people find information. They don't really go to a website first off, they will Google it. I can see a few people straining to look at this graph. I have tweeted this a couple of weeks ago, so do go and have a look. There are some websites on there that are completely inappropriate to mention at UK BIM Alliance Forum. Number 8 is quite interesting. Have a look later on. The sad world we live in. 82% of all internet traffic is going to be video by 2021. Again, it's taking up more bandwidth. And the big thing that we've seen is that for a long time, the kind of social viral video recipe was cats and Kim Kardashian. It was the stuff that you saw on Facebook that was hilarious down the pub with your mates, people falling off bikes, cats that looked like David Bowie or whatever it was. That was actually quite a good one. But in the last 18 months, we've seen a real shift towards people using this for substantive business purposes, but also raising awareness of political causes or initiatives or climate change, things like that. So it's kind of matured in its growth now, and it is being used as a core part of business marketing. The money's followed suit. Ad spend online now exceeds that of broadcast television. So with the exception of very big live events like the Super Bowl, where people want to have an advert in and around that event, they're not going to watch it and catch up later. where the ad budgets are bigger. Ad spend online is now bigger than broadcast TV. And the big thing that drove what we did, and I don't tell you this, but social media platforms will promote native video content over all other forms of content. So a native video that you upload to Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, without a link off to another social network or another website, will be served more highly above an image, a text post, a link post, or as I said, God forbid, just a link off to another social network. They really, really, really don't like that. So from our perspective, we knew there was this amazing industry out there that nobody understood. It was incredibly visual. They had to be seen to be believed. We knew there were these amazing platforms out there that were celebrating video and rewarding people that uploaded video content. We put the two together, and that's how the B1M was born. Our mantra, as I've said a couple of times, is that we love construction, and we want the whole world to love it too. That first part, love construction, is about sharing best practice, the most incredible projects, the most incredible people, all the great stuff that's going on in the industry. And getting the whole world to love it too is about fundamentally changing the perception on planet Earth. For us, that's about reaching 1 billion people. I know that's ambitious. I know it's ridiculous. But we're well on our way, and in the context of online video, it's not ambitious at all. It's been done many, many, many times over, but never in the architecture, engineering, and construction sectors. I'm not bluffing with that goal. I had people when I first started this say to me, "Well, you're not going to get a million viewers a month, are you? That's just ridiculous. You should go back and get a real job." Embarrassing yourself by being a YouTuber. I think that's. I want to talk about that because when you leave a professional, proper job in the construction industry to go and do this full time, I got a lot of, "Well, it's just a YouTube channel. Why are you doing this? We don't need this." I mean, that's hard when you're not bringing revenue in straight away, and when you've got people who are older than you, who you respect, who are your mentors, telling you you're wrong. I think to keep going was difficult, but thankfully we've gone around a corner now. In terms of different kind of content we make, we're led by the audience. So what our audience enjoy, celebrate, want to hear about is what we share. But broadly, it breaks into these 4 boxes. I find this hilarious because our creative meetings don't often stay within these 4 boxes. But current projects and trends, so things like New York's super slender skyscraper phenomenon, our documentary When Trees Meet Buildings, massive infrastructure projects, things like that. Tech is what it says on the tin, robots, drones, AR, VR, digital twins, information modelling, all that kind of cool stuff, connected to construction sites. Smart cities is where we're really earning a big mainstream audience. So that's how our industry can shape the world we live in for the better. That's where a lot of our climate change stuff and the initiative we're running with WWF fits. And then future innovation is kind of looking ahead, but still grounded in the future. So self-healing concrete, smog-eating buildings, artificial biospheres, things like that. Now, I'm a video guy. I've spoken a lot to you today, but I'm going to give you a bit of an example about what we do, just to give you a feel for the kind of stuff we're creating in this little clip.
New York City is renowned for its skyscrapers. From the early towers of the 1900s to the engineering marvels of today, the city has continually set the agenda for tall building design around the world. But while its skyline is immortalised in popular culture, different economic cycles and the changing demands of New York citizens mean that the landscape we are familiar with is continually evolving. From the luxury, super slender developments of Midtown to bronze-clad additions to the financial district and Brooklyn's first super tall tower, these are the skyscrapers that are about to redefine New York. Rising from a small parcel of land on New York's Billionaires' Row, and already making its impact on the skyline.
So that's kind of a field example of what we do. So what we're trying to do is communicate this industry and this sector to a mainstream audience, using mainstream language in a compelling, engaging way, in the kind of format that you would not turn over if it was on BBC Two on a weeknight. That's what we're trying to be led by. I think, going back to a point I made earlier, a lot of people create content and news and information for consumption within the industry. We don't see ourselves as an industry organisation or an industry publisher. We aspire to be a mainstream publisher that talks about the construction industry to the world. That's the distinction. Another example of what we do, these are what we call square format videos, social cuts. So snippets from our main documentary that are designed to play into the algorithms on different social media networks. You probably see this kind of format is familiar with a lot of what mainstream publishers are doing at the moment. Compelling lines, compelling visuals, square format that fills people's social media phones. Smartphones on social media. What we're trying to do here is get people, when they're scrolling through that busy feed of information, that overloaded world I described over, to stop and go, oh my goodness, isn't this amazing? And turn to their friend and say, have you seen this? Not, oh look, here's a link about different careers you could do in construction. Should we go and have a look at that on a Friday night down the pub? I appreciate there is a place for that, and it is important, and those resources are good, but we have done nothing to draw the millions and billions of people out that window towards our industry. That content's led us to now become the world's largest and most subscribed to video channel for construction. I'm very proud to say that we've got 9 million viewers organically watching our content each month. That's very good, but we don't want to stop there. We want 100 million viewers a month. We are genuinely serious when we say we are going to fundamentally change how people think about this industry on this planet. Now, we are cross-platform, but YouTube is very much our hero platform. That's where the core of our content lives. About 18 months ago, YouTube saw what was happening with some of their bloggers. They saw what was happening with Facebook and Cambridge Analytica and the loss of trust in that platform. And they said, look, we want to bring educational, social value content to the fore more. And their CEO made a big speech about it, put some funding available, that kind of stuff, which was great. I'm very pleased to say that we were one of their most celebrated educational channels. So they named us Creator on the Rise out of all 505 million YouTube channels worldwide. That's bloody great for my business. But more importantly, it's awesome for our industry. That's the world's second biggest social network saying, no, we don't want cats, we don't want Kim Kardashian, we don't want people falling off trampolines into paddling pools, as funny as that is. We want social value content. We want content about the construction and architecture industries. We want content about things that are changing our planet for the better. And that's phenomenal. We're also in the top 24,000 channels now, which I know sounds rubbish because third place at school was always like not good enough. But that is the top 0.007%, so it's actually quite good. YouTube held an EduCon event to kind of celebrate educational channels. So that's been in North America, Tokyo, India. And earlier this year it was in London, and they asked me to be the keynote speaker at that, which was terrifying and amazing in equal measure. But again, that's a big social network saying, this is what we want. This is the industry we want to celebrate. This is what we should be talking about out there in our society. How do we build a better world? How do we get 40% of our carbon emissions down through our buildings? We had the YouTube head of learning, who's a big fan of us now, literally repeat our vision back to us in front of 2,000 people on stage, which was marketing gold from our perspective. Behind that big 9 million number, we've got a very real, engaged, organic audience. I know some of the people in this room have been following B1M for a long time, and we have been chipping away at building our audience. But that long period has led us now to have a very loyal, engaged, real audience. There are a lot of media companies in this space, not just in this industry, but externally, who set up in a subject area, buy audience very quickly, and then sell against that audience to make money quickly and pack up and move away, and don't get really good results for the kind of revenue that they're charging for. We're not doing that. We've built a very real, engaged, loyal audience, which I think many of the people in this room are actually part of. 700 comments a video. We're getting over 10,000 comments a week coming in now, which is quite overwhelming. 500,000 video views cross-platform on average. We're embedded in over 500 organisations. So that's the stuff on the ground that really makes that big 9 million number up above possible. We're also working with a wide array of brands. So these brands have put their faith in us. They've worked with us on a repeat business basis, and they are helping us achieve our mission. So it is kind of industry brands that you might expect. It's main contractors, it's software brands, it's developers who want to now be seen for the work they're doing around placemaking and regeneration, not just putting up buildings to sell them for as much money as they can. And increasingly much more working with mainstream brands, so Shell, Aviva, Volvo, Virgin, which is fantastic. It's fantastic that they have seen the value of this industry, the importance of this industry, and part of our strategy is to work more with mainstream brands, not because of any sort of ulterior motive, but literally because, going back to that mission, that vision, that is what I want to achieve. We are going to do it, and we need to get there with the support of some very big brands. So that is me. That's the B1M. That's what I'm about. Thanks for listening. Cheers.
Thank you, Fred. Any questions for Fred before we move on?
Fred, could you just repeat what you were saying about native video? Just explain to me again what that means.
Yes, so a native video uploaded to Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter. By that I mean you've uploaded the video direct to that platform.
Yes.
You haven't put a YouTube link or a Vimeo link or shared someone else's video. You've actually uploaded your own video file. That will be served in front of other content on social media networks. If you then don't link off to another place, i.e. YouTube or another website or something else like that, if you just have some text and the video, that's the winner. So we're doing that square cut social video uploaded natively across platforms, and occasionally we link off to a bigger video to watch, but increasingly now we're making content that is designed to be native to play into the algorithm on that platform.
So when you say text on the video, with LinkedIn, for example, you'd upload, what I do is upload a video and then do a post. That's different, is it?
Yes, I think on LinkedIn, if you go to post something, select a video, upload the video, and write some text at the top,
Yeah.
that's a video post.
But that's not. Would that get the? Is that what you mean about putting text against the video, or is that something else?
No, so with our square cut video I showed, we have overlaid some
I can
text.
see that.
Yeah, that's text integrated within the video.
And that gets a higher.
Honestly, it depends on the video.
Yeah, sure.
So some things will get viewed more than others.
No, sure.
Yeah.
But if you put text on the video, it would be better than if it weren't.
It depends on the video.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Politician's answer, sorry.
How many of you are there now? Everyone in?
12. Yes. Including me, I should say. Yes.
Hello, Fred.
I see.
There may be some people in this room who think, well, this has got very little to do with me because I'm never going to get that sort of following. But I know you started making videos in the park and against brick walls with a basic camera. So I wondered what advice you had for somebody who wanted to use video in a small way and get started. I know there's all sorts of things you could say about it.
Definitely, I think I've spoken a lot today about the medium, and the medium is important, and it definitely helps and works in terms of how you're going about communicating with people. But the big thing is your message. So you have to put it in a compelling way that's actually going to engage people. And unfortunately, we live in a world where people are constantly asking, why should I stop and look at this? What's in it for me? Why is it interesting? Why does it matter? You have seconds to do that. And I think starting with long, elaborate logos or structure charts or your business's vision or some other kind of very, very boring techie stuff that's about how you're doing what you're doing isn't really interesting. Get to the point. This is what I'm talking about. This is why it matters. This is why you should care. And it's almost you have to ask yourself those tough questions. I see a lot of the construction industry not doing that. Controversial.
Well, thank you, Fred.
No worries.
Thank you very much. So in the interests of time, we're behind schedule. We were going to give you an update on the implementation of the projects that are going on at the moment. I'm tempted to skip past that. It's mainly about the guidance framework, which Anne's already touched on. And it's probably, I think it's best if we pick up on that in the next forum where we've got Sarah as well, who knows the in-depth detail. So with that in mind, Casey, could I ask you to give us a bit of an update from Vice Chair, if you don't mind? Just get this back on. Minimum size is the way forward. Yes, if you want. Okay.
Yeah, they almost seem to be acting against you, don't they?
Constantly. Really challenging. They've got to listen to common sense. They consume content the same way.
It's because we've got this.
I didn't do that. Right, good afternoon everyone. Thanks for joining us. This section I've got 10 minutes to run through the Vice Chair role, what I'm hoping it's going to be, and what I'm hoping you guys can help me define it as being, because it's an open-ended book right now. So, first of all, hello. My name's Casey Rutland. I'm historically, or still, an architect. Been involved in lots of different BIM organisations, companies, and all the way through. Most of my role today, these days, is helping companies on their digital transformation. I'm stepping into the fairly big shoes of Martin Penny, the previous Vice Chair, whose contribution to the UK BIM Alliance has been significant in terms of setting it up, working with the other team members, creating something that has a structure to it that enables us to do the things that we currently do today. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm fresh. I'm hopefully full of energy right now, but how long that lasts, I don't know. But it is something that's certainly very exciting for us to be able to be offering to the industry. There's a few things that I do currently have on my plate to deal with, and that's building and strengthening our position for the future. So we are currently predominantly a volunteer organisation. We are paid for and funded by patrons who sponsor us, and most of the work that we all put in is pro bono. So there is a certain fragility to that. We do have a legal entity, but it may change. We are looking to support and combine and work with other organisations to make sure we have a good long future and an involvement in how our industry is changing. If anyone was at the CDBB's National Digital Twin Day week last week, a couple of weeks ago, Mark Enzer announced the National Digital Twin and said this is the start of a 30-year journey. They're not shying away from that. This is not something that's going to happen overnight. And what he also said, as I think Andy referenced earlier, is that BIM is the foundation of that. It's the foundation of starting to create this structured data about our built environment. So we do need to start to work with other organisations such as CDBB, and we're hopefully looking for our relationship with them to be a much more combined effort towards how we communicate, how we connect with what they're doing, and how we communicate that to the rest of our industry. We'll be working with the finance team, as I mentioned earlier, to ensure our financial security. Part of that will be, enable us to do certain tasks and topics and studies that we like to do and have done, as you've seen in our guidance and things that we've created. But CDBB have a pot of money that we can start to draw upon where our set of tasks overlap. Contributing to our presence at key events and meetings, that's partly why I'm here now, helping to support Anne as the chair, take some pressure off of her, having to fly around all over the place, travelling to all these events. We've all got day jobs to do as well, but hopefully that's going to alleviate some of the pressure there. I'm working with the projects team. Unfortunately, we can't reference any of the projects because we've just skipped that section, so thanks for that, Andy. But we do have an awful lot of projects ongoing, and as I said, it's pro bono work mostly that we do contribute to, we do publish, we do create, we do communicate. What we need to do is to start to co-create and collaborate not only with on the BIM side of things, but on the creation of that content and how to share that amongst the industry. Now, one thing Fred alluded to is connecting with all those people out there, the general public, the billions of people that are out there. We we've also got hundreds of millions of people in our industry that currently aren't connected with this or with us as part of this process. So who in the room would count themselves as a digital person? Hands up. That's part of our problem. So we tend to be preaching to the converted. There's a whole host of people out there. It's one of my particular concerns and aims in my role as the Vice Chair to start to connect with people that aren't currently digital. And again, I'm going to reference one of Fred's videos where he references the silent majority. They've heard all the noise, they've heard everything that's going on, they've heard the phrase, seen the videos perhaps, but they don't know how to engage or how it's going to affect their role, their work, of what they do in our industry. Added to that, how many people know exactly what the UK BIM Alliance do and exactly how we are funded, how we are created and what we contribute to the industry? I don't think that's necessarily clear. It's clear to us, but I don't think a lot of the industry out there, those non-digital people who have a lot to gain by using our resources that we create to use in their digital transformation journey. So we want to turn that into some smiley people, address that industry perception, starting with why we're doing what we're doing, discovering or sharing with them what they can do, how they can get involved, how they can make their businesses fit within this social media environment that we're in. We all live in a modern environment, but for some reason we're willing to accept a much more analog work environment. That's a really weird dichotomy for me to get my head around. Why do people do that? Why are people happy shuffling pieces of paper around at work, but then go home, sit on the sofa and travel the streets of New York, book a holiday, pay for it online and do all that in their personal lives? There's somehow this weird disconnect between personal life and work life that we do need to address. So that's what I'm here to do. This middle section here, working on projects, co-create, collaborate, making sure that we can work with industry, that's all up to you guys. So my role as the Vice Chair is all of this and more, no doubt. But if anyone's got anything they want to contribute or work or ask us, then please just engage and get involved. And not only yourselves directly, but share that amongst with all the organisations you work with. All the events you'll find us at these forums you'll find us at, just make sure you start to communicate that for us. It's a massive help to us. We can do these things, but we get a limited group of people, and you largely know what we're about anyway, but we need to reach all of the others. I'm going to stop there and ask you guys if there's anything you would like to see from the Chair and the Vice Chair in relation to the UK BIM Alliance. Richard.
Hi. I'm sure we're doing some work on this question of where the client will encounter costs in asking for BIM and where he will encounter benefits and at what stages, and how value transfers from one member of the team to another, which at the moment seems to be below the horizon. We can't see it. Consultants in particular end up contributing effort and contractors benefiting from it, but they don't pay because it's not perceived. And I think that business of building up the investment in data in a BIM project and when it happens and how it's paid for and who benefits from it, that needs to be surfaced and understood rather than assuming that conventional fee scales remain as they ever were.
Absolutely. Yeah. If only someone could write a client guide for that. As you have. Yeah, it's part of it. I mean, from my perspective, what I tend to see is people specifically looking at the BIM part of it and ignoring their overall global or business transformation towards digital anyway. So they're trying to force a digital process into what might be an analog business. So the two don't sit separately, they're very much combined. And part of my role is to talk to clients and see whether they can see the value of working digitally. And then when it comes to their built assets, this is the ideal way to plug the information and the data into them. But they've got to ideally be set up in the right way in the first place, or at least have that in mind. Because if they just go through an entire BIM process, get a data set out at the end of it, it doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't fit into the way their business operates or how they understand to do it. But yes, there's absolutely, I think someone mentioned it earlier, the client changes and the perception of how they integrate and react to how the industry is changing is a massive, massive part of that. So is there anything specific you request of the UK BIM Alliance to address that particular issue?
Well, at the moment we are compiling case studies, but we're not I don't think, compiling them in a way that surfaces the costs and benefits to clients, not just overall, but step by step.
Can I help on that? So one of the projects which hasn't got presented is that there's a joint project running with CDVB on BIM benefits and measurement actually. That has got quite a tight timescale, so there'll be a report coming out before Christmas. It will be around next steps. It's Northumbria University BIM Academy who are working on at the moment. I did see them last week up in Newcastle. And it's a really important area to be looking at. What is now called the ISO Transition Public Sector Group, the clients, they are also looking at that, so they're looking at it from the point of view of the framework and what is being asked of them as we move into the National Digital Twin Programme is absolutely what the blockers are and what the enablers are to get us moving forward. So plenty of work still to do there, Richard, and John, of course, always welcome to contribute to that effort.
Okay, thanks.
Sorry, can I just, Anne, would you mind, because we're on our sort of Q&A, ask the execs, so could I ask you to come up the front, and I think it's just Sean as well, and let's just have a bit of a Q&A and a discussion.
Yep. Sorry, Mike, there's a question behind you first.
Casey, on behalf of the BIM region team, so I'm the chair of the West Midlands BIM region, it would be really useful to have something so that we could all give a bit more of a consistent message to BIM regions, because we're the ones that kind of are reaching out and getting to the kind of the wider regions. Mm-hmm. Some regions will probably still be pushing BIM level 2 and always BIM level 2, and obviously things are moving on. And anything that we could get from the UK BIM Alliance in terms of recommended resources for speakers or material that we could present at the start of our own sessions that we're running.
Can I answer that one? Have you joined the community Slack channel on the UK BIM Alliance? Because that's our primary method of answering those questions, so people can go in and the leaders for the communities can go in and say, I'm either doing this event or I could use these resources. So do you lead a region?
Yes.
So join that channel, and that's where all the leaders communicate about exactly that.
Okay. But that does link into, again, we're trying to reinvigorate a new team to do that coordinated effort between the communities and the regions, and things like starter packs for events and best practice and all of that sort of stuff. So that's something we'll look to deliver as going forward next year.
But from the point of the UK BIM framework, Pam has actually asked me to provide some slides. I have to say that at the moment it's new. There is, the Marcoms people are working at the detailed dialogue to put out there, which can then be used in a much wider by the regions and so forth. And what you've just heard me talk about is, I'm afraid it's me talking on the cuff still. So it is really hot off the press in that sense, but absolutely understand. Pam is certainly, with Andy, very keen to get a slide pack which you can then use. But I think the thing is that we want there to be a common voice, but you also need to have your own voice in that as well and get that confidence. So I think being able to explore with you as regions and BIM4s and special interest groups actually how to do that is something we're really keen for you to do. So I think the other thing is, although absolutely right to point you to Slack and obviously the CDE as well, there's nothing better also than having an absolute direct conversation. So please do get in touch with us if you're feeling a bit isolated or unsure of what that is, and we can talk you through some of that. Really aware that the UK BIM framework and the messaging around the levels, that is emerging now and will emerge over the next few weeks, and hopefully that will really help you go forward.
Any other questions?
What kind of follows on a bit from that, I'll kind of put you on the spot a bit, Casey, to say if you had a kind of 20-second elevator pitch style thing to the wider industry, why the BIM Alliance is important and why they should get involved.
All right. in a 20-second pitch, I think if they're going to go anywhere for a reliable set of information about how to implement BIM in their organisation, it should be us. Because we have the pointers to point them to all the different resources. We have people who author those standards. We have people who author the guidance, and we have the connections into the communities by the BIM4 groups. So we should be the reliable source of information for BIM in the UK.
That was less than 20 seconds. Which is that? I think I'm more like 15.
We've got that recorded somewhere.
We have got that recorded, so that's all right.
I suppose where I would add that, and that's where we need to get much more agile in the messaging, is that, we've reached thousands, we haven't reached the millions, and the people who are really not interested in BIM at all, but they need to, as Fred was saying, is why are we not working in a digital way as we do in our private lives? So, and nobody has actually thrust down our throats that we've got to BIM during our private lives, have they? Or I sincerely hope not, anyway. So we've got to get that messaging right, and that appeal, or doing it by stealth, or whatever it is that we do to actually really shift the industry forward. So answers, of course, from yourself will be very much, and particularly, we can learn from the international stage as well, clearly.
I guess that's part of a view that if people want information on BIM, they come to the UK BIM Alliance. That kind of makes sense, and they probably make that link and find it. But what about the people who don't know they want BIM?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So I think that's, I've just had that going back to the affiliates program, that's where I think there's that potential to really get that outreach and get that messaging out there to the membership of the big institutions, and the people who normally be switched off, and it's over there somewhere. It's now being fed hopefully into their updates from their organisation, and we start to get that message really widespread.
And you'll also see in the report that was just published by the Alliance ourselves, we'll see that we are trying to aim for how do we reach those other people. And as Casey already said, it's how do we reach those people who've not been touched. I mean, anyone here who knows work in the industry, you work with tier one suppliers, there's thousands of people in the organisation, they're talking about digital. 2 tiers later, it's 2 guys in a van. And you've only taken 2 steps contractually. And how do we work with those? And that's one of the challenges we're picking up on.
Under ISO 9650 Part 2, it mentions protocol. Is the CCBIM protocol being updated?
Good question. Good question.
And well timed.
So in the next issue of the guidance in October, you will see a section on the protocol. We've been talking with CIC. CIC have agreed that the protocol can come within the framework, but they will want to put their IP onto that. So you'll see a first release of that in October, and then a follow-on in January. So we're putting that out for consultation, for people to test it, and then to hopefully start to lock it down in January. But obviously we want to see what the response is. It's already gone through quite an extensive editing process, so it was really detailed and went down to clause by clause. They decided that that wasn't a useful way to go, so they've actually now come out with a summary. We're actually doing another iteration of that to make sure it really is aligned from a technical perspective with the ISO, and I'll be very pleased to have people to respond so that we can improve on that for the next edition. But it is, again, and I think I've said it before, it's in flight, but that doesn't mean to say it's chopped off and you're stuck with it kind of thing. It's that we want to make sure that it will actually work from a practical perspective. I think one of the things, sorry if I'm going on too far, just kick me, but it's partly is that this whole thing around from a UK how we work contractually is that you've got the appointing party, but actually the lead appointed party will then appoint, and actually the protocol needs to work for both of those perspectives, and that's what we're challenging and looking at the moment. I'm really glad you're nodding your head, so it looks like that was a good thing to do.
On the journey, Andy.
Great.
Anyone else? Going once, going twice.
It's going to be a short Q&A, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, we've got the venue. Yeah, we don't have to be out till 5, so if you need to speak up, by all means. If not, feel free to network for a while. Thank you very much for your time, and we'll see you at the end of the year.